Welcome back to News Talk. Should Montgomery County end its monopoly on liquor sales? The current arrangement, which has been in place a long time, is unusual, but changing it would mean a revenue loss at a bad time. Joining us now, the new president of the Montgomery County Council, Democrat Nancy Florine. She serves at large. Good to have you back. Thanks very much for your time.
Great to be here.
Pleasure, and congratulations, I think, on being elected head of the Montgomery County Council. Not your first go-round as chair, right?
No.
And unlike D.C., and for that matter, Fairfax, where the head of the local board is elected, chosen by the electorate, in Montgomery County, you get the 9 people together, and then you choose among yourselves. So this represents your colleagues saying, we think you're the best person at this time to lead this panel.
That's right. It is a big honor, indeed.
And we'll talk later about your agenda, what legislative proposals you might make during the course of your year with the gavel. Let's talk about liquor sales, though. Describe for people who don't fully get what the rules of the road regarding liquor sales in Montgomery County are now. Describe how the county is different from other places.
Well, right now, it's sort of an anachronism, that's for sure. Montgomery County controls the distribution of hard liquor and wine and beer through the county, and it's a profitable anachronism. Right now, we're taking in about $35 million off the top of net revenues that we've been able to plow back into infrastructure and into services for our residents. There was a proposal in Annapolis to essentially what would end up in privatizing that operation, which, you know, we're really concerned about because we're actually pretty fiscally careful, and we see this as a revenue loss that we cannot recover easily without looking at some kind of tax or other fee solution to make up the difference.
What's the motivation behind the legislation in Annapolis?
I don't know.
It's from your own delegation, I assume. This is not something being done to the county from outside. This is
it's been also suggested by the comptroller as well. Some of the small business, some of our restaurateurs have been frustrated with the services they've received from the Department of Liquor Control. What's ironic is that the council spent the past year worrying that through, and the Department of Liquor Control has come up with a variety of solutions. They're in place, and I think we should give this an opportunity to work itself out. And frankly, these issues had already been addressed within liquor control as well. There were some mistakes. You can always criticize the deliverer of resources, but at the end of the day, we're on it.
Is that the inherent problem in having one spigot, and whereas a more private sector approach, people can shop around, they can look for price advantages, look for service advantages? That's one of the beauties of the free market.
Well, in theory, that's true, but that's not actually the way it works in Maryland. Distributors have control over certain products. So you can only get one kind of spirit, say, from one distributor. That's it. So there really isn't that much competition. At the end of the day, the way I look at it, it's the transfer of wealth from the pockets of Montgomery County taxpayers to a couple of distributors who, frankly, out of Baltimore.
What's the likelihood of this going through, and what's the revenue hit if it does?
Well, I don't know. It'll be up to the delegation in Annapolis to handle this, of course. We've been lobbying them very aggressively, encouraging them to pull back from this, and I'm optimistic that that will indeed occur. But if it does not occur, we are looking at a loss of, as I said, $30 to $35 million in revenue. We have bonds that are paid by some of that revenue that are as a dedicated revenue source of about $110 million of bonds.
So Wall Street will be watching.
Well, our bond council has raised issues with this. We tried to be creative in how we fund projects within Montgomery County, and this would take away a tool that really relieves some of the burden on our taxpayers.
What's the big picture revenue situation right now?
Well, it's not clear. The state of Maryland is reporting that it's seeing a big pretty good surplus. That is not the case in Montgomery County. We got a disappointing distribution from the state in November. We're seeing it was about $47 million less than we expected, and that has caused our revenue projections to go down by about $175 million. So we're a little worried about what that means for the overall budget. We have increasing demands, of course, from all segments of the community, school system, of course, and everything else, and we're not sure how this is going to work out.
Why is the state withholding money?
We don't know. I'm not sure they're withholding it. Again, it's how the state...
Well, I guess there are two issues. There's one, some of the formula-driven stuff, and then the suggestion that money that could and should be going to, for example, education, is being withheld, perhaps out of an abundance of caution or for whatever reason.
I cannot say. Our budget people are working with the state on this issue. We are not sure. We honestly are not. But if it's just that's the correct number for the dollars allocated to Montgomery County, we're in a deeper hole than we had expected. What's interesting about our budget, and people don't appreciate this, we really don't know how much revenue the county is going to get for the fiscal year that ended last June 30th, frankly, until about February. Because of the way people file their tax returns. And then, of course, the dollars are collected by the state, and then they dole out what we're entitled to over the course of the year. So, they project as best they can, but it's not a certainty what the numbers are going to be.
The 2016 session of the General Assembly will convene in just a couple weeks. Lawmakers will be back in Annapolis right after the first of the year. And Montgomery has a large delegation. I mean, it's done. All this stuff is done by population. You're the biggest single county in the state. What's primary for you in terms of the county's agenda in Annapolis?
Well, I think our primary objectives are to do no harm and to keep our revenue where it needs to be. We're very concerned about school funding. This past year, we were withheld $17 million in school funding that we should have received. The General Assembly enacted legislation that required that those dollars to be distributed in future years. So we're hopeful that that will be abided by the governor. And of course, transportation funding is a huge issue for us. And we're very concerned about the fiscal future for the county and how it relates to the state.
Why do you say that?
Well, because we are looking at increased costs. Our school population is increasing by 2,500 kids a year. It's just enormous, and we're struggling to keep pace with that. We need help from the state.
Larry Hogan ran on several key core ideas. One, making sure that state spending is appropriate, that the state utilize each dollar wisely and return as many dollars to state residents as possible. But the notion of the state having a strong economy, I think, was also one of the pillars of his election win, his surprise victory in 2014. Montgomery County arguably is the economic engine of the state. We
are indeed, and I think we need to remind the governor that while we're not a Republican county, the governor received a significant number of votes in the last election, and we hope he remembers how important we are to the state as an economic driver, which we certainly are. It's going to be interesting. We're trying, he's had a tough year with cancer. We hope that we can strengthen our relationship with the governor and his office as we move forward to make sure that we can get him to appreciate the importance of the Montgomery County team in the state's success.
And no shortage of opportunity when you have the single largest delegation in Annapolis.
Indeed.
It's huge.
Indeed, that's true. And they're very energetic, and they're full of spirit, and they're committed to making change. So we're going to be leaders, of course, once again.
We're talking with Nancy Florine. She's the new president of the Montgomery County Council, a Democrat serving at large, just elected to a 12-month term as president of the council. We'll take a break. We're back with more News Talk right after this.